Check this out. Shakur Stevenson recently unretired from his retirement, which was a surprise to absolutely no one. It's two reasons how I knew that this was a fake retirement. First, Shakur has a managerial deal with Jay Prince. And people who familiar with Jay Prince, they know how he gets down. If you're not sure how Jay Prince gets down, you could just ask Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Leonard Ellerbe. All I'm gonna say is that man is gonna make sure he get a return on his investment. And the other reason is Shakur's contract situation at Top Rank. He has one fight left on his deal. And the fight before that snooze fest that was Stevenson versus De Los Santos featured one Emmanuel Navarrete, whose stock is currently on the rise right now. And at that time, I believe that a fight between Stevenson and Navarrete was on the horizon, despite Navarrete fighting at 130. But they both was on the same card, and Stevenson was talking about him and whatnot, how he would like to fight him. So I'm thinking this is where they going. And then, lo and behold, it is announced that Emmanuel Navarrete's next fight is at 135, and it is for a title. But it's not for Shakur's title. It is for the vacant WBO title. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bob Arum had told Shakur that his next fight would be against Navarrete. And when Shakur found out that it wasn't, he just felt some type of way. Now, I watched the Shakur Stevenson Fight Hype interview, and he said something that I found interesting. He said that a lot of these fighters want to be like Floyd, but don't want to travel the roads that Floyd had to travel to be who he is today. But Shakur, you are fighters. You trolled Devin Haney after the Lomachenko fight. You pandered to the crowd for Loma, or Mr. Lomachenko, as Shakur will call him, right? They was at this same event, function, or whatever, and Shakur sent a bottle or some bottles over to Devin, and the girls was holding up a sign that was saying, send the contract. And to Devin's credit, he actually sent Shakur a contract. The only problem was that Shakur didn't like the numbers. He said the numbers weren't looking right. He didn't like 25%, which I'm always for fighters knowing they worth and getting what they worth. The only problem with this is Shakur declined the fight. And not only did he decline the fight, but he didn't have no other fight that was lined up that was of that caliber. His next fight would be that De Los Santos fight for a vacant belt, when he could have just fought Devin. And if he believed in his skills as he say he do, he would have beat Devin. He would have became undisputed at 135. And he would have been the shot caller for the majority of his fights going forward. A Bob Arum would be happy to give him a Lomachenko fight, because Lomachenko is his golden goose. He wouldn't mind giving Shakur that fight, and Shakur could have beat him and raise his name value up even more. So if you're saying you want to be like Floyd, Floyd took risk early in his career. Early. Took big risk. Even when he got the De La Hoya fight, he still took risk. He didn't mind being the B-side despite how much money he got, because he knew if he won the fight, then he would be the guy whose name value has went up. And he's going to be the one calling the shots moving forward. But it looked like the only thing that you took from Floyd is the fighting style that he had during his mid-30s. But that's something we'll come back to. Let's get back to this retirement, right? When Shakur announced this fake retirement, nobody cared. And the main reason is because of all of this shameless trolling that he's been doing on Twitter. This reckless gangster talking, pandering towards certain demographics. All of this has led people to not care or be invested into what a Shakur Stevenson does next. Now, I can't put all the blame on Shakur. Bob Arum is going to catch some of this blame too. And Shakur is going to be another fighter that is added to the list of fighters that Bob Arum could not turn into a pay-per-view attraction. But I already have something cooking up on that. So let me just stay with Shakur. Shakur's last performance didn't help his name value. But this cat want to act perplexed as to why everybody was dogging him out after this fight. Of course people are going to clown you because you were talking out the side of your neck, your cheekbone, your eardrum, the whole nine. So when you perform like that, and listen, I know Shakur had a left arm injury. And he won that fight too, by the way. Some people want to say it was controversial. No, it wasn't controversial. Shakur won that fight. But the critics is not going to care about your injury because of the way that you've been conducting yourself. And Shakur's fighting style isn't necessarily an exciting fighting style. People are not going to be willing to pay a huge amount of money to see a guy who is not going to entertain both in or out of the ring. These are all things that Floyd did. So when you saying that these new crop of guys, these new crop of fighters are trying to be like Floyd, but they not trying to do the Floyd things, you not either. Sean Porter recently said that Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson is the best fight in boxing. All I gotta ask Sean Porter is, how much did the deposit clear for? It's people out here who think Shakur be tap dancing because of the way he talked to Devin, how he called Frank Martin out of his name, but he called Vasily Mr. Lomachenko. But I disagree with all that. Because whenever Tank is mentioned to Shakur, he refers to him as Mr. Gervonta Tank Davis. Tank versus Shakur is not a fair fight. At least not off of the eye test. Shakur is touted as this amazing defensive wizard. That is not him. Shakur is a careful fighter. And Shakur will let counter-punching opportunities go by just so he can remain in his defensive stance. And in boxing, that is not defense. Defense is something that can smoothly set up your offense. I mean, after all, the tagline for the sport is to hit and not get hit. Shakur doesn't move his head that much. And a lot of times he keep his head on the center line, which is a similar problem that was faced by a Mr. Errol Spence Jr. And we saw how that helped him when he fought an elite level fighter. Shakur's output also isn't that high. He liked to throw single, 2-punch, sometimes 3-punch combinations. And then he liked to admire his handiwork after he did that. Instead of pouncing on the guy, he might throw one of these little small combinations and then watch his opponent's reaction to the combinations, right? And this is something what Floyd began to do later on in his career. When he hit that mid-30s, Floyd would throw these little single punches and, you know, he might throw 1 or 2, sometimes 3 punches. The only difference is Floyd had more than just a jab and a straight. Floyd could throw a hook. Floyd could throw an uppercut. He had a variety of punches, and he knew how to set up those punches. Shakur, on the other hand, there's not much creativity with his punches. And Shakur liked to stay stationary. There's not much lateral movement. He believes that he could just stand there in front of these dudes and walk them down and fight in this manner. If he come with that style against a Tank Davis, just off of the eye test alone, Tank will have a field day with this man. There are many question marks about Shakur that we just don't know. Can he take a punch? Remember, when Oscar Valdez hit Shakur to the body in the 3rd round of their fight, Shakur himself said that he almost dropped a deuce on himself. So if he was able to land on Shakur and hurt him, what you think Tank is going to do? Mind you, Shakur don't hit hard himself. Shakur is not no hard puncher. Especially as he move up in weight and competition is going to get more and more tougher. There's not many guys he just gonna knock out like that. He don't have one punch knockout power. And a lot of times he don't know how to set up to get these dudes up out of there. You find a Tank Davis, you better be ready to hurt that man. You can't be doing these little patty jabs thinking that's gonna stop Tank. You gotta be able to hurt him. Another thing about Tank though is that Tank can box. I don't know where this myth comes from that Tank is just a power puncher. Tank has fundamentals. Tank could use lateral movement. Tank could take the air out of the ball. He knows how to control a fighter. He knows how to set the pace of a fight. Tank has a higher ring IQ than Shakur. How can Shakur adapt to that? And the last thing we don't know about Shakur is, can he endure a 12-round fight of this magnitude against a fighter of this caliber? These are all questions we do not know about Shakur. We don't know him. But at this rate, will we ever know? Because in my view, as long as Shakur is with Top Rank, he'll always be second banana to Lomachenko. He would just be another option. Because if Lomachenko wins against Kambosos, and if Navarrete can win his fight, then it's most likely for sure that those two will fight each other next, leaving Shakur on the outside looking in. But we'll see what's the next move for Shakur Stevenson is. Hopefully he can turn it around and raise his name value back up. Only time will tell. Peace.